the North Atlantic is silent. But it's a lie. Hidden in the frozen depths, 200 feet below the surface, are 9 German U-boats. They are the Grey Wolf pack, the most lethal pack in the Kriegsmarine. In the last 6 weeks, they have sunk 47 Allied ships. More than 2,000 men are at the bottom of the ocean because of them. They are invisible. They are relentless. And the Allies have no answer for them, except for one man. March 1943. The Battle of the Atlantic is being lost. For every U-boat destroyed, Germany builds 3 new ones. British convoys are bleeding out. Winston Churchill told Parliament, "The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril. At this rate, Great Britain will be strangled into surrender within 6 months." But in a secret naval base in Reykjavik, Iceland, a man is working on something the Germans believe is impossible. His name is Commander Robert Naismith. He is 38 years old and was an acoustic engineer before the war. He has spent the last 14 months obsessed with a single question: how do you find something that doesn't want to be found? The Germans believe their U-boats are undetectable when submerged. They are almost right. Allied sonar is primitive, it can detect a submarine at 1,000 yards under perfect conditions, but U-boats know this. They dive deep, stay silent, and wait. Then, when the destroyer passes, they rise and attack from behind. Naismith realized something no one else did. The problem wasn't technology, it was philosophy. Everyone was trying to hear the submarines. Naismith wanted to see them. But how do you see through 200 feet of water in the middle of the night? The answer came from an unexpected place: bats. Naismith studied how bats hunt in the dark. They don't use eyes, they scream and listen to the echo. Every echo tells a story: distance, size, speed, direction. Naismith had a radical idea. What if we could make the ocean scream? What if we could create a sound pulse so powerful and precise that it would bounce off submarines and return with information no conventional sonar could capture? He called it Project Echelon. His superiors called it madness. They gave him 60 days to prove it worked, or the project would be cancelled. Naismith is more than just an engineer, he has a personal motivation. In September 1942, his younger brother, David, was serving on the HMS Firedrake, a destroyer escorting a convoy. On the night of September 16, a U-boat emerged and fired 2 torpedoes. The Firedrake snapped in half. David was in the engine room and stood no chance. 174 men died that night. The U-boat responsible, U-404, escaped undetected. Naismith received the news 3 days later. He read the telegram, folded it carefully, put it in his pocket, and went back to work. But something changed. Naismith was no longer just solving a technical problem, he was hunting. By January 1943, Naismith's lab in Reykjavik is a chaotic mess of wires, vacuum tubes, and hydrophones. His team of 7 faces a triple challenge: creating a transducer powerful enough to penetrate 300 feet of water, developing a receiver sensitive enough to capture weak echoes while filtering ocean noise, and, most difficult of all, interpreting that data in real time. Naismith has to teach a machine to think like a hunter. After weeks of failure, Naismith has a breakthrough on February 3. He realizes the problem isn't the noise, it's the frequency. Every object in the ocean has an acoustic signature. A steel submarine has a unique signature. Naismith tunes the system to hear only specific frequencies, 18 to 24 kHz. The test takes place on February 19. They take the equipment out on a small trawler. 5 miles out, they find the HMS Scepter, a British submarine acting as a test target. The Scepter dives to 180 feet. Naismith turns on the system. The transducer emits a pulse, ping. On the oscilloscope, a line appears. It isn't just a dot, it's an image. The system shows the shape of the submarine, its exact depth of 177 feet, its speed, and its direction. My God, an engineer whispers. We can see it. Naismith notes in his diary, it works. Now we need to make it lethal. The team calls it the Death Eye. March 12, 1943. Naismith presents the Death Eye to skeptical admirals in London. He shows that the system can detect a U-boat at 3,000 yards, 3 times farther than conventional sonar, and can predict a submarine's movement. He proposes a brutal plan: create a fake convoy of 3 old, noisy merchant ships as bait. Hidden among them will be a destroyer equipped with the Death Eye. When the U-boats dive to attack, the Allies will see them all. Admiral Horton approves the mission but warns Naismith that he will be personally responsible if these men are lost for nothing. On March 20th, the fake convoy is assembled in Reykjavik, SS Belfry, SS Northern Star, and SS Halifax Dawn. Hidden among them is the HMS Orion, a modified destroyer. Commander James Harding, a 30-year veteran, is the captain. On March 23, at 4 a.m., the convoy sails in a vulnerable formation. At 7:17 a.m., the Death Eye picks up a contact 2,800 yards away. Within 40 minutes, 9 U-boats are detected. They are positioning themselves in an arc, waiting for nightfall. Harding asks when to attack. Naismith tells him to wait until they rise to torpedo position and become vulnerable. At 7:45 p.m., darkness falls. The 3 merchant ships keep their lights on, looking like perfect targets. Below the surface, the 9 U-boats begin to move. The Death Eye tracks every single one. Alpha rising. Bravo rising. Now, Naismith says. The Orion accelerates to 28 knots. It separates from the convoy and intercepts U-boat Alpha. 6 depth charges are dropped with perfect precision. Alpha is destroyed. There is no time to celebrate, 8 U-boats remain. The German commanders realize they have been detected, but they don't know how. They dive deeper. U-boat Bravo goes to 240 feet. The Death Eye follows it perfectly. More depth charges are adjusted for 230 feet. Bravo is lost. In the U-621, Captain Lieutenant Werner Schultz realizes his pack is being decimated. He orders them to disperse and move to maximum depth in silent mode. But Schultz doesn't know about the Death Eye. The Orion becomes a killing machine, tracking all 7 remaining U-boats simultaneously. Working from the outside in, they destroy U-boats Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Foxtrot. Then, at 9:35 p.m., something unexpected happens. The 3 remaining U-boats, Golf, Hotel, and India, stop fleeing. They surface completely. They are surrendering. At 9:47 p.m., the HMS Orion approaches the U-621. German crewmen are on deck with their hands up, but they are in a state of panic. Some are screaming, others are crying. When the boarding party enters the submarine, the smell hits them: diesel, sweat, and fear. They find 43 men in the forward compartment, pale and bleeding from their ears, the result of severe barotrauma from diving too deep and surfacing too fast. In the aft compartments, they find 6 men dead from asphyxiation. As the hull groaned under extreme pressure, the air systems failed. These men suffocated while their captain tried to escape an enemy he couldn't see. Schultz is taken to the Orion in shock. "You saw us," he murmurs to Naismith. "No matter how deep we dived, you saw us. What kind of sorcery is this?" In total, 9 U-boats were neutralized, 6 destroyed, 3 captured. 127 German sailors died, 89 were captured. The HMS Orion suffered 0 casualties. It was the greatest anti-submarine victory of the war. March 25, 1943. Naismith stands before the admirals who once doubted him. They are now standing and applauding. Admiral Horton tells him he may have changed the course of the war. But Naismith doesn't smile. He asks for a transfer back to regular combat duty. He has avenged his brother. "The hunt is over," he says. The Death Eye, officially the Aztec Mark VII Enhanced, was installed on 47 destroyers by the end of 1943, reducing convoy losses by 73%. Naismith's technology evolved into the modern sonar used by navies today. Robert Naismith survived the war and became a professor at Cambridge. He died in 1989. In his will, he left a note: "I built the Death Eye to avenge my brother." It worked. But every time I close my eyes, I still see those German men, screaming in the depths. War makes us do terrible things. His sonar system now sits in the Imperial War Museum in London. Behind the glass, it looks like ordinary equipment. But if you look closely, you can see the scratches from the salt of the North Atlantic. It is a silent testament to a simple truth: it isn't the weapon that changes a war, it's the person who creates it. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing on a battlefield is an engineer with a personal mission.